I mentioned Dalvin Cook. Let's talk about that. The Vikings are listening to Dalvin Cook trade offers. And then side note, Vikings are listening to a lot of trade offers.
I heard Danielle Hunter too.
Yeah. The Vikings are like quietly blowing it up. It's really odd. Like I don't this all I really take away from that is that the NFC North is bad.
Bad.
Like if the Vikings are like, yeah, let's try to trade away Danielle Hunter, Dalvin Cook when looking around at the division, like this is when they need to go. This is when they need to bring in the players, sign the players, trade for the players, and make the fucking playoffs. But they're looking around like, yeah, we can get rid of Danielle Hunter and save some money. Yeah, Dalvin Cook, probably isn't going to resign. Let's save some money. It's just stupid.
You're right, Zach. They should be doing like the Rams thing, 2 years ago, and just spend all their money in draft picks for 1 year of Super Bowls and then rebuild in the next couple of years.
They're going to have to pay Justin Jefferson $25 million per year after this year. Mm-hmm. Like, you need to go when he's still on his rookie contract.
Well, on top of that, too, I mean, to your point, the division is so bad. Even if they split with the Lions, if they go all in, it's 4 easy wins you got to think from the Packers and the Bears. That's 5 wins right there, 5-1 record. So if you can just go 500 the rest of the way,
you're a top 3 playoff seed in the NFC.
Well, and the divisions that the NFC North plays this year aren't crazy either. Like, and the NFC sucks. Like, you're pretty much guaranteed a playoff spot. And then once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. And right now the Vikings are sort of making sure that they're not guaranteed a playoff spot. So it makes no sense. But I digress. So Dalvin Cook, most likely on the go somewhere. Like, I feel like if the Vikings don't trade him, they're going to cut him. So destinations. I'm hearing 3. So the 3 I've heard are the Dolphins. Obviously, he's a Miami guy. Didn't choose Miami to go to college. He ended up choosing Florida State, but he wants to go back there. Buffalo's the other one. That's where his brother is. Buffalo could use a good running back. I discredit that a little bit just because I think they really do like Damian Harris a lot. And
for good reason.
I don't think they add a running back without getting rid of somebody. So I don't think they're going to do that. And then the Buccaneers is the other one. We'll talk about Rachaad White in a little bit. Like, the Buccaneers need another running back. And again, Florida guy, I think he works well in that system. So, like, just in terms of Dalvin Cook, where are you valuing him, knowing that he's probably going to go to another team where he's part of a committee? I think that's the thought process right now.
I think you have to obviously you bring his value down from what everyone's been projecting him the last couple of years, right? It seems like, Dalvin Cook has always been the kind of guy who's like, oh, he's a workhorse guy. He's a guy who can play rushing and receiving. He can do all these things. We haven't really seen that out of Dalvin Cook a lot. I know injuries have been kind of a thing, but even when he's healthy, like the last couple of years, there just hasn't been real excitement about Dalvin Cook. I think that would change. Like, Zach, you brought up Tampa Bay there. I would love if Dalvin Cook went to Tampa Bay. Their whole quarterback situation is all fucked up right now. Who knows what's what they're going to do with receivers in the future. And Rachaad White's great. Can Rachaad White kind of carry a team? We don't know. Can Dalvin Cook kind of carry a team? We don't know. But if you figure that those two together probably have a better semblance of carrying a team than a Baker Mayfield or a Kyle Trask. I think out of those 3 teams you listed, I'd be most excited and most willing to draft him if he went to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the trade affects things or trade rumblings, because I think everybody's natural predisposition to trades is like, oh my gosh, that team's going to be so good, let's pick them up for fantasy. And I look at all those places, and I don't think they make him any better. I mean, the last 2 years, he hasn't been a top 10 running back PPR-wise, and even then, he had a couple big games that buoyed those season stats. And so now you put him in a committee, I don't see it from him, and I also don't trust his injury history. Like, he played a full season last year, that's it. I don't know at the age of 27 how that gets any better just because he's in a committee.
Yeah, to the point of what you both touched on, Yeah, Dalvin Cook finally played a full season last year, and he was only RB11. So like we've seen big performances from Dalvin Cook. We've seen him play phenomenally, but he finally put together a full season last year, and he didn't do amazing. Like we look at people behind him, Leonard Fournette was behind him. He averaged more points per game. He averaged a similar points per game as Alvin Kamara, who was by all accounts terrible last year, couldn't even sniff the end zone. He was about around the same production wise as DeAndre Swift. It looks like he's just not that great. Like I think he's fine. And then there's no situation in like that I can think of off the top of my head. So I think there's 31 worse situations for Dalvin Cook.
I would agree with that.
Like he was on a team last year that was winning games, so playing with leads, scoring a lot of points on a good offense. Offensive line wasn't amazing, but he has played in a division that is notoriously could not stop the run at all. So like he has been or cover running backs out of the backfield. So he's been in the best situation. He is aging, and he's going to go to a team that almost definitely will be cutting his touches. So yeah, I don't love him. If you're a dynasty owner, I think sell him if you can get RB1 value for him. First off, his ADP is surprisingly accurate in terms of how I feel about him. I would say he's going as RB20 right now, which is 57 overall. So I think that's fair.
Yeah,
he's going behind Damian Pierce and J.K. Dobbins, ahead of DeAndre Swift and Miles Sanders. I think I prefer Miles Sanders. I think I prefer Rachaad White currently, who is behind him. But obviously, if Cook goes there and pairs with Rachaad White, that's a fucking coin flip probably for me.
Yeah, I agree, Zach, that I would rather have like a Miles Sanders, right, or a Rachaad White or a couple of guys. But I mean, there's definitely an argument you can make that you rather have Dalvin Cook. He is to me right now very properly rated in terms of where he's going.
Is it just me, or does it feel like Dalvin Cook had a super short career, even though he's been around for 5 years? Like it just seems like he burned so bright and just kind of didn't die off, but just the hype went away so quick.
Trevor, that's because you watched him tear up the Packers for his first 2 years and then just do nothing else against the Packers since.
Well, like a lot of Vikings too, he's just played a lot of meaningless football. Like he's played great. He's played, I don't know how many years he's played, maybe 6, 7.
This will be his 7th season.
7th. Like how many of his games that he's been really good have mattered in the slightest bit?
Not many. Under 10.
When you look the past 2 seasons, he's combined for a total of 16 touchdowns, with 2 of those coming in the air. That's like just over a half per game. That's not what we've come to expect from him.
You're looking at his stats. How many receiving yards has he had past 2 seasons?
Last 2 seasons, 295 and 224, which were down from 361, 519, and 305.
Well, 500 the last 2 years.
That's interesting because I think a lot of people still consider him, and I don't think this is a wrong opinion necessarily, but they consider him as one of the premier sort of dual threat guys out of the backfield. I think he has the skill set to do that still, possibly, but clearly he's been used as more of just like that pure runner lately, which has impacted his fantasy value negatively. But also that's an aging thing, I think, a little bit for most people other than like Rex Burkhead, Gio Bernard, who are on year 20 probably for their careers at this point. But he kind of slots in fairly well maybe next to that Rachaad White role, whereas like Rachaad White will take some running back snaps, but he's also going to catch a lot of passes. Maybe Dalvin Cook is an early down guy now for his career, but he's not really a short yardage guy though either.
And I was just going to bring that up. Like you had mentioned Buffalo, right? Like I hate every running back. Like if a running back goes to Buffalo, I don't want him. Right? They're not going to score touchdowns. And then Miami, like what the fuck is Miami? What is Miami's running game? You know, it seems out of those 3, the best being made was Tampa Bay. That split with Rachaad White. But Zach, you're totally like Dalvin Cook cannot fall forward for a yard if they need it, which is crazy.
Yeah, so like if he's an early down guy that's not getting goal line touches, I mean,
which kind of feels like what happened in Buffalo.
Buffalo, that's kind of what Alvin Kamara was last year. Like,
Yeah.
we just don't need it. We don't need it for our fantasy team.
Trevor, you are right though. It does feel like Dalvin Cook's like still 23 years old.
Yeah, it's just weird. It doesn't help that James Cook came in, looks just like him.
Fair.
And by the way, James Cook's ADP is only 9 below Dalvin Cook. And would you trust James Cook on your fantasy team whatsoever?
God, no.
Why would you ever trust, like Luke said, a Bills running back?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That whole backfield sucks, man. I like, not even in like a poor skill wise way. Like Nyheim Hines is there.
Mm-hmm.
I forget about that. Zach Moss should still be there. He should be the RB1. Like, I don't know. I have no idea what to make of it.